What can you tell us about this, particularly the preseason? Right. This, a lot of fans may not. This is a very big deal. No preseason this season. That feels like a very big deal.
It is, and of all of this, we could go into the weeds about a bunch of it, but the two headlines for sure are the aspect that there are no preseason games and rosters will go from 90 to 80. Now that impacts two aspects of this, the bottom of the roster and the top of the roster. The bottom of the roster certainly feels like a bummer, right? There's guys that won't get their chance to make a team. That's their dream being unrealized at this point. But at the top of the roster, really what we're talking about, I spoke to some players who say the product will likely be sloppier come week one. That being said, what's important to the players is their health. And I'm not just talking about COVID, I'm talking about just not getting injured. These guys did not have an offseason. It was very important that they get a ramp-up period, that they don't put their bodies out there on the line before they're football ready. So it might be a sloppier look to the season in week one, but at least it'll also be players that believe that they will stay healthier longer. Feels like a good thing for the players.
Of course. And look, I think all of us at this point, if we get football back, we'll be delighted to watch it no matter how sloppy it may be. Now, when we consider those guys, as you point out, at the bottom of the roster, and Ryan Clark, you were an undrafted free agent. So how would you describe what the impact of having no preseason games will mean?
I mean, this is huge. I mean, it's actually scary for a lot of these guys who are undrafted free agents. And you had to remember, some of these undrafted free agents were very successful college football players, guys who believe that they are very talented. And when you don't get this opportunity for preseason games, it actually does two things. One, you don't get to go out under the lights. You don't get an opportunity in front of the real film, in front of other players to make huge splash plays that gains the notice of your team, of your executives, of your coaches. And on the other side of it is you don't get to put on that audition for 31 other teams. Because so many times it's not necessarily the team that you're on in training camps that you get to make or that you're on the practice squad for, but it's other teams who have gotten to watch your film or who have played against you. And you lose all of those things. And I've been on text messages. I have a group chat with a lot of current players, and the undrafted guys have spoken about that. And they've said things like, you know what, I already knew it was going to be hard, so I just got to go harder at practice, or I have to do this, but I don't get the opportunity to hit, because they are already feeling this. They understand what type of pressure this will be day in and day out at practice. And this is a huge development, not only for the NFL, which I think is the right move, but also for some of these players who, like me, wouldn't have made it under these circumstances.
Marcus, you were a first-round pick, so this would not have been a concern for you. But let's deal with the other side of it then with you, the idea that the beginning of it will be sloppy. There are a lot of people trying to learn new things. I'm thinking of Tom Brady in Tampa. I'm thinking of Cam Newton in New England and others. What impact do you expect no preseason to have on those guys?
Gee, I expected to have a major impact. Not so much, though, of the veterans. The one thing you miss with these quarterbacks in the preseason, especially with wide receivers, is building that trust against competition. And that is where you miss out, going against different looks, seeing teams throw different things at you and building that rapport with your wide receivers. It's easy for us to say Tom Brady and Mike Evans and Godwin and all of those guys are going to be on the same page. But until it's a bunch of Ryan Clarks and Palomalu staring across the line of scrimmage, making adjustments, guys moving around all over the place, and then you working and building that trust with those guys, that's the major difference. But I'm really more concerned with the rookies and these quarterbacks, particularly Joe Burrow and A.J. Green. A.J. Green hadn't played football. Joe Burrow is a rookie. Those are the situations that I'll have my eye closely on to see how fast those guys can gain some rapport, man.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.